Hey guys, Hector here with another kind of a ranty vlog, but it's definitely not going to be as bad as last week because last week's video, that was just eating me up inside. But as I said at the end of the video from last week, I wanted to talk about otaku stuff in this week's video because it kind of ties together. It's just that people don't really understand what otaku means and they're still kind of hating on it, even though that's pretty much the group that they're a part of. So I kind of want to say you can just sort of Google it, but you can't really Google it. You can't search for it online anywhere because there's just so much different things and conflicting things, and people still don't really know what it means. And that's why I started the Otaku Encyclopedia, where I try and break down all these kind of Japanese nerd culture sort of stuff and terms for people to easily understand. My very first video was what is otaku, and I explained it as best I could, I thought. And then later on I made a video saying should you use otaku or weeaboo. And so this is kind of the third video on otaku stuff, and that's why I was kind of hesitating to talk about it because already 3 times in a little bit over a year. So a lot of people they do try and search for it online, and they might come across the subject or topic or whatever on Wikipedia, and I have read some of the stuff on Wikipedia. And like some people even cite some of that stuff from like 30-40 years ago when there was like an otaku killer, and well, the news media just called it the otaku killer, kind of like how people had died by meeting people on Craigslist and they started calling it the Craigslist killer, you know. And so that kind of had a bad name on it. And then of course nerd and geek and stuff used to be bad back in the day, and then it started transforming into a good word. That happened both in Japan and here in the US and other countries, and so people are kind of holding on to the word nerd and geek and even otaku. And I remember the very first time I heard the word otaku, and I was just on an anime forum, and I was like, what the hell's an otaku? And they're like, oh, it's just somebody who's, you know, pretty much fat and unshaven and lives in their house. They're unsociable, and then they love anime and manga. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not an otaku then. I'm never going to call myself an otaku. You know, I love video games. I'm a huge gamer and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm not going to call myself that stuff. And then later on, I get more into the nerd culture and the Japanese stuff, and I learn more and more about it. And I even have Japanese friends, which I talk to online, literally online, the instant messenger. And I've asked them, you know, what is otaku? What would you guys call it? And basically, there isn't just one type of otaku. And, well, I guess you can kind of say it's just a nerd or a geek, and that just covers it all. But really, it does go a bit in depth with it. And so you can like anime, and they would say that's an anime otaku. You can like manga, they say it's a manga otaku. You can like video games, video game otaku. And there's a bunch of different things. It's not just anime and video games. Like there's even people who are all interested in cameras, and then they're camera otaku. People who are interested in idols, and they're idol otaku. And then my friend recently told me something about a soft otaku. I was like, what the hell is a soft otaku? She was like, she said it was just like somebody who's not as hardcore into a subject, because otaku is usually somebody who's really dedicated into a subject and just spends a lot of time and money and love into a topic. That's pretty much what an otaku is, and then they usually put that subject before the word otaku. But still, people don't fully understand what their word otaku means, and then they confuse it with weeaboo. They say it's basically the same thing, and it's definitely not the same thing. Weeaboo is pretty much an insult. It was created to be an insult. Otaku is literally a Japanese word for like nerd and geek and stuff like that. And people on forums that I've talked to, well, people are always throwing around the word cringe now. They're like, oh, that's cringe and that's cringy. And it kind of reminds me, like a few years back, everybody started calling everybody a tool, and they didn't really know what it meant, I guess, and now they're just throwing around the word cringe. I've heard people comment cringe on a couple of my videos, and I'm like, hey man, let's rock and roll, basically, because that's pretty much why I wanted to start this channel. I wanted to not have any guilty pleasures. I don't think this shit should be called a guilty pleasure. We should just like what we like and throw it all out there. And I wanted to have a whole community talking about otaku related stuff. And I didn't really want to call my channel a Japanese channel because I'm just talking about nerdy Japanese stuff. I'm not talking about living in Japan. I'm not talking about holidays in Japan, although I was thinking about that sometime in the future maybe. I'm not talking about the real culture of Japan, just the nerdy culture. And then if I did call myself a Japanese channel and I'm just talking about nerdy stuff, and then somebody who really is into Japanese culture comes around and just sees nerdy stuff, they'd usually be like, oh, you're just a weeaboo because you think Japanese culture is all about anime and manga and cosplay and stuff like that. But that's not what I think. That's why I decided to call my channel an otaku channel, because it does cover just the nerdy and geeky stuff. And that's also like how I said in the last video, how it ties to the last video. I want the community to come together and really pretty much love each other and be cool with each other and stop hating on each other. And that's also another thing, because I'm not sure if a lot of people out there are familiar, but if you become a YouTube partner, you can do all these courses to kind of help you get more views and to build a better channel and stuff. One of the things they were saying is, oh, try and come up with catchphrases and stuff. And I'm like, that just seems too fake. And then another thing was like, try and talk to your audience and call them something else, like the army or whatever. And there's this one reactor who I really like. His name's Blasphemous HD. He has some cool reaction videos. He like actually talks about stories instead of just sitting there and, watching the video. But the thing about him is, in his videos, he says, at the start of his videos now, he goes, what's up, BHD Army? And I'm like, oh, come on, man, that is so fake. And I don't ever want to say, hey, fans out there. I don't want to say, hey, Hector Army or whatever the fuck. I just want it to be a community and saying, hey, everybody out there. Hey, other otaku out there. What's up? I'm just like you, because I am just like you. This is supposed to be a community thing. We're all supposed to be in it together. And so that just all ties together, sort of. I kind of went a little bit off subject, but it's kind of ties into it. So I really hope more and more people use the word otaku and aren't ashamed to use it, and help spread the information so people aren't really ignorant on it. And I really, really hope that we can get more of an otaku community here on YouTube, and we can kind of interact and collaborate and all that stuff, because it seems that there are steady communities for different sorts of subjects, but you don't really see steady communities for otaku at this time. I've seen J-vloggers, but a lot of those J-vloggers actually live in Japan, and they don't always cover the really nerdy and geeky Japanese stuff, like the anime figures or the cosplay or idols or whatever. And so I hope we can get more of a group into that, and we can all be cool and friendly with each other. That's just my hopes. And if there already is such a group and I don't know about it, come on, tell me about it, man. I don't want to be left out here all alone. But I guess that's all I got to say on this video. Thumbs up if you like, I guess. But leave a comment telling me what you think about the word otaku, if you've strayed away from it, or if you weren't sure about what it meant or whatever. And if you're going to be using it in the future, or if you have used it in the past. And when was the first time you heard it? Because I already talked about my first time I heard it and why I was kind of afraid of saying it, or afraid of using it. And you can always subscribe to my channel for more otaku related stuff. Sometimes I do vlogs like this, sometimes I do product reviews, and just a bunch of different stuff. So if you want to see any of that, definitely subscribe, because more is going to be coming in the future.